Hi, welcome to episode 3 of Darby Cupid Reads. Today I'm going to be reading a chapter from a book called Stay by Ash Knight. If you go on Amazon, you can buy the book in full as paperback or Kindle, and it has 100% 5-star reviews, so it sounds like it's definitely worth checking out. The author herself, Ash Knight, you can find her on Twitter at ForgottenAstro2. As usual, I'll post the link for Amazon and her Twitter handle when I post the video so you can find out more. Ash is also a twin mom and autism mom as well. If you go on Amazon, it tells you a little bit about the book and I'm going to share it with you. Stay. A quiet coffee shop gives two men who have lost too much a chance at love. Joe Calloway has been on the run since he was 16, homeless and alone. He never lets anyone close. Between his traumatic past and his autism, he isn't used to letting people take time to understand him. Even so, when a stranger offers him a way to build a better life for himself, Joe finds the strength to go for it. Madden Fields is devoted to his older sister, her autistic son, and his job as a nurse. But when he meets Joe, his carefully ordered life begins to pick up speed. As their connection deepens, Madden realises he's going to have to hold on tight if he wants to be an anchor strong enough for Joe to stay. Right, I'm excited. I'm going to start reading this first chapter, and this is Joe, age 22. I can do this. No one is looking at me, I chanted, taking a gulp of air. As I pulled open the huge glass door to pump it up, the local sweatbox of death, I adjusted my cloak of invisibility and prayed for the best. Well, that's a lie. I didn't pray. I didn't get religion at all, but that was personal, and I didn't do personal. Swiping my card under the tiny red laser beam, I waited for the brash-sounding chirp that signified that I had paid for my membership for another month, and the manager just didn't take my cash and pocket it. It had happened before, so I had plenty of reason to be suspicious. Finding my way 2 steps past the curving countertop, I heard a loud voice yell, "Hey Joe, don't forget we close at 8 tonight for the holiday." Penny, the automaton who sat at the front desk 7 days a week. I'd only ever witnessed her wearing booty shorts and skin-tight tank tops while dutifully ignoring anyone who wasn't a muscle god. And if you were a muscle god, she found a reason to touch the goods, each and every time. The only reason she spoke to me was because I'd been known to help her out from time to time with fixing things when members got upset that the equipment wasn't working. Otherwise, I was sure I'd be a pariah. "Got it, thanks," I replied, briskly walking to the changing rooms, wincing. After opening my locker, lucky number 34, I pulled out my shower basket and towel and threw in my backpack. Sometimes I regretted my life. Not today, though. Today I had work. A guy I knew from a few months back, Mitch, said he needed extra help at a job site because one of his guys called in sick, and the framing inspection was tomorrow. I'd done my share of odd jobs and helped enough with construction that I could be helpful and not a disaster. I'd always been a hard worker. I just needed a chance to prove it. Anyway, I'd make a bit of cash today, so on the way here I'd stopped at McDonald's and bought myself 2 Big Macs and a Coke. I didn't think I'd ever had food taste that good. Or at least I couldn't remember the last time I'd had money to pay for something freshly wrapped and untouched. It was heaven. Or it would have been, if I believed in that. But I don't. Once I'd showered and shaved, I pulled my laundry out of my locker and started washing it in the shower. One important tip I'd learned is if you kept the shower curtain closed, no one bothered you about washing your laundry at the gym. And really, I had bigger issues to deal with. I'd also learned that it was important to take care of your belongings. I'd only ever truly cared about something once, and then I understood that caring was a liability. Anything could be taken away, used against me. Since I was a kid, I'd vowed never to find myself in a situation like that again. Nothing was worth feeling like your heart could stop beating at any moment. Like each second it was gone, you'd inch closer to self-destruction. No, I'd had that once, never again. Who was I kidding? I owned 4 shirts, 1 pair of jeans, 1 pair of boots, 3 days' worth of underpants, and 1 good pair of socks, with flamingos. The other pair of socks had a hole where a nail caught along the side when I'd hauled ass out of an abandoned building on Trent Street 2 weeks ago. Those were my unicorn socks. Now I only wore those in case of emergencies. The point was, even if I'd wanted something to care about, I couldn't have it. If it didn't fit in my bag, I didn't need it. After running the hairdryer over my wet clothes for a while, they started smelling like burnt toast, so I knew the cotton had had enough, and I gave the weave a break. I rolled everything up, stuffed it in my backpack, threw my basket into the locker, and pulled the key from the lock. Passing the cardio equipment, I could see it ended up being a busy night, which meant there would be lots of activity in the parking lot for a while. I'd need to walk around until it calmed. As I passed the southern corner of the gym building, I could see the dumpster and Phantom. He roamed around as usual, taking in the last vestiges of light before the sun set. Phantom loved the sun and would stretch out for hours, inching across the parking lot as its rays lazed fluidly across the concrete. I'd met him about 4 months ago when I first found myself in this town in Oregon, a week after I'd started coming here. He had scared the shit out of me in the night, rubbing against the cardboard and purring like a motorboat. I'd never heard a cat purr so loudly in my life, and now I found I couldn't sleep without the sound of him. Phantom was comforting to me in ways that I couldn't even think about. I couldn't allow myself to go there. As I strode over to him, he stretched his arms up until he was directly on the edge of the building's shadow, and gave up. I could see the moment he'd resigned that it was getting dark, signalling his time to hunt. He'd usually be gone for most of the night, but he'd be back to slay the demons in my nightmares later. After crouching down and giving him a nice neck scratch, I wandered behind the dumpster, behind the old pallet boards lined up against the fence, and unpacked my still damp clothing. It would mostly take all night to get everything dry, so now was a good time to start. After laying everything out across the wooden boards, I threw my bag into the tent that I'd rigged up between the pallets and the chain link fencing. It could have been worse. I could have had nothing. I'd been there, and I'd lived that life already. I'd learned from that experience as well. Don't ever let yourself be vulnerable, physically or mentally. If you had to be alone, make sure you had somewhere to hide. After a few hours of walking around the area, I headed back home. The gym should have been empty by then, and I was exhausted. As soon as I'd turned my clothes over to dry the bottom side, I got into the tent, pulled my boots off, and lay down on the cool sleeping bag. I told myself I would not think of her. I would not think of him. Venom. I couldn't. Every night it was the same. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Sometime during the early morning hours, Phantom joined me and curled up around my neck, purring into my ear, regaling me with his debauchery and antics while I'd been fighting with my prefrontal cortex. I wished I could dream of the night sky. I'd be a star, twinkling in the dark, shining only on the people I'd want to see me. It was Sunday, and Sundays were the worst days. There were less people on the roads, but more were wandering around, aimlessly peering into windows and sitting around people watching. I understood it though. I'd once sat on a bench in the park on Edgar Street for 8 hours watching people pass. I'd met 2 kids named Ethan that day. Both Ethans had jam hands. Kids have this peculiar knack for seeing invisible people. You can't hide anything from them. I wondered at what age that ability went away. Most adults looked right through me. Of course, that was the way I liked it. My mind kept going back to the Big Macs from McDonald's. I'd had a few bucks in my pocket but couldn't buy food today. I needed to get myself a jacket and pocket knife. Life on the streets had turned me into a scavenger, and now that I had money for it, I needed a knife, for protection as well as useful things like opening cans, cutting through boxes. Going to the Goodwill in town was always a nerve-wracking struggle for me. On a good day I could tolerate a few people milling around. When there was more of a crowd, I'd get itchy. My eyes burned, my face grew hot, my skin got too tight. I felt like I was being ripped apart. But I had some money today, so I needed to take my chances that everyone would be praising Jesus and hailing to their God while I looked for the necessities of life. After 20 minutes and about 12 death stares, I had a jacket, a knife, and a couple of pairs of socks. This was one of my better trips. On the downside, I now only had a couple of dollars to last me until I found another job. Phantom would be waiting for me when I got home, so that gave me some purpose, and I stepped lively. Well, there you go. I don't know about you, but I'm fascinated. I definitely want to find out more about Joe. And how has he ended up on the streets? Who's the her and the him that are Venom that he has nightmares about? I'm really curious. And also I'm excited to meet Madden as well, how he finds Madden and what happens. Because it seems like Joe is not ready to let anybody in at all. So like I said, if you would like to read the rest of that book, it is on Amazon and you can get it as paperback and as Kindle. So enjoy. And please don't forget to subscribe.